How you doing, friends? I am Joe Craig, host of Reeling and Telling the Truth from Our Point of View. A little background on me. Growing up in my formative years, I'm going to say middle school, I didn't like reading. And I didn't tell anybody I didn't know how to read. But guess what? I started reading the comics one word at a time. I started loving to read. And even as an older guy with the gray, I can tell you I still enjoy reading. You know why? Because I like learning new stuff. I like obtaining new information. And I've always said this, the more you read, it affects your brain because I think our brains are like computers. And if we don't massage them, work them, reading those words, pages, we messed up, we lost. And that's my point of view. So, what I want to do today, folks, I want to give you some insight into a family down in Louisiana first. And then I'm going to let the video continue on in its entirety so you can see the importance of reading. Now, currently, I'm working with some young people at a middle school, and I also am working with a couple of young kids, young men rather, and kids to include them as a tutor. And I can also say that when kids learn how to read, you can see the excitement in their eyes and their face. But more importantly, I used to teach high school business classes, and I came across a lot of school students that could not read at all. And my question to those students, more importantly, I question the families. How did this young man or young woman get to be 16, 17 years old and couldn't know how to read, don't know how to read? But at the same time, I used to teach what used to be called GED, and I ran across a lot of adults that couldn't read. I don't even know how that's possible in 2024, but I guess anything's not possible. So, without further ado, let's check out this video. See what we're talking about.
Watch the baseball.
Little League batting practice
Straighten it out.
in the 90-degree Louisiana heat. A sign that Demekus and Kesney Cook want the best for their kids.
All right, let's get some hits, buddy.
And it's that love that turned to panic not long ago.
There's got to be a lot of sleepless nights that come with that.
Yes, because you're worried.
Sight, sound,
All because when he started second grade 2 years ago,
touch.
learning to read wasn't clicking for Demekus Jr.
Sound it out for me.
Explain.
It's almost as if we question ourselves, is our child the only one going through this? Almost as if it was...
But there are millions.
That's right.
Traveling the country, we learned Demekus and his parents are far from alone.
We had spark. Okay. So what was our word?
What we found is a story about kids.
What does it feel like when you read?
Hard. I'll get mad and sad and I just say I can't do it no more. I can't do it.
What does inspiration mean?
About the fierce coast-to-coast debate over how to teach them to read.
What do you do here? What do you work on here?
Reading.
Okay. All right. Follow the steps.
And about an often overlooked race against time facing every school in the country
Horse.
to help struggling students read before it's too late.
The older that a child gets, the harder it is.
All right. We're gonna try another one. Ready?
America has faced troubling reading scores for as long as the government has kept track. Every year since 1992, the Department of Education has found roughly 1/3 of the country's fourth graders read below what's considered the basic level. In eighth grade, that number gets better, but not by much. 1 in every 4 students. In Warrensville Heights, Ohio, just outside Cleveland,
You have to love what you're doing.
33-year teaching veteran Carla Pleasant explained to us helping a struggling reader is about intervening early.
The younger you get them, after about, I would say, second or third grade, it gets really tough.
Just raise.
I'm going to pause it right there. Did you hear what this 30-year veteran teacher, a kindergarten teacher, in fact, she said, and I quote, "It is highly improbable that if kids don't start reading by at least the third grade, it's going to be harder." Now, here's the thing. I know you see a lot of African-American kids on the screen, but just think about this. It's happening all over America. It's not just the black kids, it's all kids who can't read. So let's not get it twisted, but let's keep going.
Raise your hand. Does anyone here feel stressed sometimes when they read?
These students we met in a summer school class down the hall are nearing the end of that window. They're in third grade and told us what they experience when they read.
How does it feel when you come across a word you don't know?
I get sad.
You get sad.
David here was brave enough to give reading out loud a try.
That was one of the words we were learning earlier. That last word right there.
Front.
Try that one more time. You got it?
Frat.
So it's raft.
Raft.
And this was one of those words we were talking about earlier. Good job.
Sniff.
Yeah, sniffs.
Sniff.
What David used to figure out that last word is what we saw and heard.
Say snore. Snore. Tap phonemes.
Reading specialist Chantel Barhorst
We're listening for the sound.
teaching to try to get these students up to speed.
Read one more time for me.
It's called phonics, the sounds and letters that make up a word. A once popular scientific approach, proponents say, which allows students to decode the whole word, then the sentence, and ultimately what's on the page. Steps that come almost naturally for some students, but not everyone.
So it's helping them crack the code. So how many phoneme boxes do we need?
But not everybody teaches reading the way you do. Does that surprise you?
Unfortunately, no.
For years, Carla Pleasant says many classrooms in Warrensville Heights didn't teach reading that way either. Their solution to reach struggling readers was a teaching style called balanced literacy, which is still popular in many schools across the country. It's designed to develop a love of reading and a comfort with books, but it can also involve suggesting students guess certain words.
Cookies is the picture.
And even look at pictures to decipher the words on the page, something instructors took to calling picture power. One problem, Pleasant says,
I could tell it was not working.
Why?
Because the students weren't performing.
So she reversed course, took to teaching phonics under the table.
And you were keeping that secret from your bosses.
Keeping it secret from the bosses, but getting the success in the classroom.
A new school administration eventually followed her lead and began requiring the kind of meticulous phonics instruction
Let's tap it together.
you saw in class earlier. And Warrensville Heights Elementary.
I'm going to pause it right there. I had never heard of balanced reading, but it didn't sound good when I was looking at it just a little bit. But I like what the 30-year veteran teacher said and did. She went back to teaching phonics because that's what I do. We start with the alphabet. We start with pronunciating the letters. And then we progress into one-syllable words. And then we keep it moving up the ladder. Like right now, I got one young man who's working on his ABCs and also adding 3 plus 5. And then I got another young man who last year could not read at all. And he gave up, but we cheered him on. I cheered him on. And now he's reading on a second grade level. And just to watch his face when he's reading, I can't believe it. But let's continue with the video.
Went from low reading scores to an A rating with the state. Now this school is an example for Ohio's Governor Mike DeWine, who's moving to require all state schools teach phonics and other similar strategies, often called the science of reading.
He swims on his back.
A plan to reach struggling readers, first pioneered in a state that some educators had written off as a lost cause.
I'm going to pause it again. Reading is fundamental. Reading is awesome. And it works. And also, I think really learning to read will make you a better decision maker. That's what I think. That's my point of view. But let's continue.
Mississippi. A decade ago, students here ranked last in reading, 50th out of 50 states. Today, Mississippi is 21st in the nation in literacy. And in educational circles, that seemingly impossible turnaround even earned its own name.
You know what they call what happened here?
We've heard.
The Mississippi Miracle.
Right.
How did you pull that off?
We don't necessarily think that it should be a miracle that children learn to read.
In this classroom, Dr. Kimyana Burke, the state's former literacy director, showed us how she brought her state back from the brink.
Yeah, you see me just smiling, right? I can't stop smiling.
Asking the state's teachers to lean hard into phonics, the way her generation and her parents' generation learned to read.
Now he chooses a brush.
Instruction, she says, that was virtually missing in Mississippi classrooms, and still is in many states, because it fell out of fashion.
It was really this aha moment around there's a lot of work that we have to do here.
Are you saying schools were just graduating kids who didn't fundamentally know how to read?
Yeah, it's happened all across the country.
Burke, now with the...
I'm going to stop it again. She is telling the truth. But I got a question to ask. Why is it women in this video, besides the first family, that's promoting reading? Why is that? But here's another question. Why in the home is reading? I'm step out on faith when I say this because I'm going by the data that I've seen kids over the years. How can you have a kid in your home and he or she can't read? That don't make sense to me. So what this video is really saying is that if you take the time to sit down with that kid, those kids, and start from the beginning with the ABCs. Can you write your ABCs? Then we start identifying letters. We pick a simple word like dog. Can you spell it? D-O-G. Cat. C-A-T. So we get that momentum going. And then we just build on that. Is it easy? No, it's not. Try teaching somebody, a grown-up, a new skill at a new job. They're not going to get it at first. The same with kids. You got to have patience, but you got to be caring and you got to be consistent. I hope this video and my point of view give you folks some insight that if I can help kids learn to read, you can too. My name is Joe Craig. You can check me out on YouTube at Reeling and Telling Our Truth. And you can check me out on Facebook at Reeling and Telling Our Truth. My name is Joe Craig. I'll check with you later. Go read, because reading is fundamental. Thank you, folks. Be blessed.